Right, so the third tournament on the ATP Tour this week is in Buenos Aires. I have already done videos where I cover my predictions for the Rotterdam tournament as well as the Delray Beach tournament. In this video, I will be telling you what my predictions for the tournament in Buenos Aires is. If you are interested in watching those other videos, please consider going to the channel, subscribing to the channel, and watching those other videos as well. The tournament in Buenos Aires, the big headliner name is, of course, Carlos Alcaraz returning to defend his title in Buenos Aires, as well as Cameron Norrie coming back to try to go that one step further. He, of course, went to the final last year. But let's just get straight into the predictions. The construction of this video is that I will start with the left side of the draw, follow that all the way to the final, and then going to the right side of the draw, following that to the final, before then, by the end, giving you my prediction for who will win the title. But looking on that left side of the draw, we have Carlos Alcaraz getting a bye in the first round, of course, and then facing either Varillas or Ugo Carabelli in the second round. I had Varillas to lose this match until I saw who the qualifier he would face would be. I do think, even though Varillas has been quite poor this year, that he has what it takes to beat Ugo Carabelli, and I think he will do so in 3 sets. We then have Vavasori against Thiago Seyboth Wilch, or however you pronounce that name. Seyboth Wilch has been a bit wobbly this year. He's lost matches I thought he would win. He's won matches I thought he would lose. And he's that kind of player. He can play very, very poorly, or he can actually play some brilliant tennis. I think he will, at the very least, beat Vavasori, and I think he will do it in 2 sets. He will then face either Marin Cilic or Laslo Djere in the second round. And Laslo Djere is a strange type of player because he can play incredibly and go to the final in Hamburg, or he can be so utterly disappointing as he was in Hong Kong. Initially, I actually had him to win the tournament in Hong Kong. I changed it around, thankfully, because he then ended up disappointing massively in that tournament. He might just be the favorite in this match against Marin Cilic, and I might just be basing this prediction off the fact that I want Marin Cilic to do well, but I do think Marin Cilic will win in 3 sets and face Thiago Seyboth Wilch in the second round. We then have Nicolas Jarry, who gets a bye in the first round and faces either Stan Wawrinka or Petro Kachin. And in this match, I have gone for a Wawrinka win in straight sets. It is very difficult usually for me to predict Wawrinka because he is getting on. I don't know if he is maybe a bit too old. He seems to have some physical issues when he plays, but Petro Kachin hasn't really impressed me all that much as of late, ever since his win in Gstaad, really. So I do think Wawrinka will win this match. We then have Diego Schwartzman coming up against Daniel Galan. And last week, just for myself, I predicted that Diego Schwartzman would have a fairy tale run in Cordoba and make it all the way to the final. He didn't, and he was very, very poor. This week, I had him to beat a qualifier, then I saw who the qualifier would be, and I do think Galan has what it takes to beat Schwartzman, and I think he will beat him in 3 sets. And in that second round, Galan will then face either Roberto Carballes Baena or Thomas Martin Etcheverry. Now, Etcheverry was the one that I had predicted to beat Schwartzman in the Cordoba final and win a title on the ATP Tour, but obviously he didn't go that far, and Luciano Darderi ended up winning the tournament. I do think that Etcheverry will have what it takes to beat Roberto Carballes Baena, and I think he's just that tiny bit better, even though Carballes Baena is good on clay. Going to the round of 16, the first matchup is Carlos Alcaraz against Varillas. And I think this will be very straightforward for Alcaraz. I think it will be good for him to get a little bit of confidence build up, and I think he will definitely do that by winning in straight sets against Varillas. He will then, in the quarterfinal, face either Thiago Seyboth Wilch or Marin Cilic. I think this is one of those matches that Thiago Seyboth Wilch will underperform, and I think he will take it to 3 sets, but I do think Marin Cilic will come out victorious, winning in the third set by like 6-4. Fairly tight, but he will just prevail based on the fact that he will serve incredibly, especially in the third set, I think. We then have Nicolas Jarry facing Stan Wawrinka. I personally really want Stan Wawrinka to have one final fairy tale tournament, maybe win a title, but I just cannot see a world where he beats Nicolas Jarry. I think Nicolas Jarry is too strong, and I think he will beat Wawrinka. I think they will at least play one tiebreak. I considered making it a 3-set match, but I just think they'll go to the tiebreak in the first set. Jarry will win, and I think he will comfortably beat Wawrinka in the second set. The final round of 16 match on this side of the draw is Daniel Galan against Thomas Martin Etcheverry, where I think we will once again see Martin Etcheverry struggle, Thomas Martin Etcheverry struggle, but I do think he will pull out the win against Daniel Galan in 3 sets. Which then sets up 2 quarterfinals on this side of the draw. That is Carlos Alcaraz against Marin Cilic and Etcheverry up against Jarry. I think this is 2-set matches. I think Alcaraz will play maybe a bit more conservative against Cilic, but I do still think he will win once again. I think they will go to at least one tiebreak, and I think that Jarry will not breeze through Etcheverry because Etcheverry is not a bad player, but I do think he will win and go to the semifinal against Carlos Alcaraz. And in that semifinal, I think that Alcaraz will win as well. It is, of course, the easy choice to just pick Alcaraz to win everything, but I do think he will beat Jarry in the semifinal and get the chance to regain his title in Buenos Aires. Right, so before predicting who will win the title, we're jumping to the other side of the draw, where the first matchup is Artur Fils up against Dusan Lajovic. This is a match where I feel like Artur Fils will just have the upper hand. And even though Dusan Lajovic can do damage, and he definitely did last year in Banja Luka, I don't think he will do the same thing here, and I think Artur Fils will beat him fairly comfortably in straight sets. To then face either Yannick Hanfmann or Tabilo. Now, Tabilo is, of course, a new ATP champion, as he did win that title in Auckland. And Yannick Hanfmann has been sort of up and down this year. He's not really lived up to expectations. Of course, he's a good player, but I do think Tabilo will win in 3 sets. Next up, we have Diaz Acosta up against Daniel Altmaier. And Daniel Altmaier had a great start to the year, beating the likes of Auger-Aliassime, for example. But then he lost last week fairly early on. I think it was the first round in Cordoba. But I do still think that he will want to get his revenge, and not revenge on Diaz Acosta, but just get back to winning ways. And I think he will win in 3 sets to set up a round of 16 match against Francisco Cerundolo, who gets a bye in the first round. We then have Sebastian Baez against Zapata Miralles. This is a match where I feel like both players are good. They're both best on clay, and I just think that Sebastian Baez has that little bit extra, and I think he will win in straight sets. Baez will then face either the new ATP champion Luciano Darderi, who won the title last week in Cordoba, or he will face the qualifier Navone. Darderi, I think, will experience a bit of fatigue, as he did go all the way to the final and win the title. And Bagnes managed to make it just a little bit interesting, but because of the fact that he was injured, he did end up losing. And I think Darderi pushed himself in that match. He will be tired, but I think he will win in 3 sets against Navone to face Baez in the second round. We then have Sebastian Ofner up against Federico Coria. Coria obviously went to the semi-final in Cordoba, and Ofner went out fairly early, but I do think Ofner is the better player, and I think he will win in 3 sets to face Cameron Norrie in the second round. Norrie gets a bye in the first round, of course. Now, looking at the round of 16 matches, we have Artur Fils up against Alejandro Tabilo, where I think Fils, once again, he's just the stronger player. He hasn't had the best start to the year, but he's been decent. I do think that he will beat Alejandro Tabilo to make it to the quarterfinals in Buenos Aires. He will then face either Daniel Altmaier or Francisco Cerundolo. Now, Cerundolo has disappointed me very much this year. I don't think he's played up to level, even when he's then gone and played on the clay. So I do think this will be another disappointing loss. I think he'll lose in 3 sets to Daniel Altmaier. We then have Sebastian Baez trying to get his revenge on Luciano Darderi, who did beat him in that semi-final in Cordoba, and I think that Baez will be successful in winning in 3 sets against a quite tired Darderi. And the last round of 16 match is Sebastian Ofner up against Cameron Norrie, and I think Ofner will make it difficult for Norrie. I think he will take the first set, but I do think Norrie will win in 3 sets and go to the quarterfinals in Buenos Aires once again. That then sets up 2 quarterfinals on this side of the draw, which is Arthur Fils up against Daniel Altmaier and Sebastian Baez up against Cameron Norrie. In that first match between Fils and Altmaier, I do think Fils will have the upper hand. I think he's the better player. I think he will be pushed to 3 sets, but I think he will pull out victorious. And in the other match, I think Norrie will have found his rhythm. He went to 3 sets in the first match, but I do think that he will beat Baez in straight sets to head to the semifinal against Arthur Fils. This is where I think the upset will come into play. I think Arthur Fils will beat Cameron Norrie in 3 sets to make it to the final in Buenos Aires, where he will face Carlos Alcaraz. Will Arthur Fils then be able to actually upset Carlos Alcaraz and win the title? No, I don't think he will. I do think Carlos Alcaraz will regain his title here in Buenos Aires. I think it will be tight. I think Fils will push him to 3 sets. But I do think Carlos Alcaraz will win his first title since Wimbledon back in Buenos Aires. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please consider clicking the like button. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Check out my videos for the predictions for Rotterdam and Delray Beach. Write a comment and tell me who you think will win in Buenos Aires. And once again, thanks for watching the video. Have a very nice day.